Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to Raising Excellence, the most important 90 minutes of your day. Hello, I'm Michael, the MC and Opportunity Ambassador for today's show. And today's show's title is Crossroads of the Stars. We're going to talk about astrology, I think, and some other stuff in the sky. But with me today is two of my favorite co-hosts, Agnieszka, our psychosomatic illuminator,
Nice to be here.
Dennis, our freedom facilitator,
Greetings and blessed love, beautiful people.
and our very special guest, Lee, the Wayfinder, all the way from Taiwan.
It's an honor to be with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lee. So today's show, we're going to be talking about the grand, what was it, conjunction?
That too. And I'm sure other things as well.
It's all related to that kind of stuff. Now, I've got a video that I'm going to take a little clip from. Do we want to start with that, or do we want to go something else?
Sure. We can start with that.
Okay. Let me share my screen real quickly here. Oops. Technology. All right, there we go. Let's do the sound. All right, here we go. This is David Icke.
Still today, in Western astrology, I'm talking about Vedic astrology coming out of India, would read this in a slightly different way, maybe even a very different way. But this is astrology I'm talking about.
It's really fast.
They break up the heavens.
Are you sure you didn't make it too fast?
And we call these stars. And look at what it's said to be
It's kind of breaking up, Michael. I can't really understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
You guys?
No, it's breaking up.
Jupiter and Saturn are coming into this alignment
I just started to understand it and then it stopped. Okay, moving on. Michael is frozen, I think. I'm not sure. Oh, you're not frozen. Something is frozen. There's no sound coming from your computer. Oh,
there it goes.
that might work without the video. But I'm still not hearing David Icke, Michael. All right. Before we lose the listeners, let's move on to a discussion that's actually lively and entertaining. We were talking about Saturn and Jupiter and how the grand conjunction is. Oh, I had something to share, but actually, let's go around the room and ask you guys, how was your grand conjunction? Did you feel any shift, energetic, physical, emotional?
You want to start, Lee?
Sure. Thank you so much. I'd love to. I would also like to begin just to want to say that September of this year, Agnieszka, you encouraged me to start writing some descriptions for this podcast, specifically Raising Excellence. And so I started watching all of your episodes. And I'm sure I at that time, I had watched all of your previous episodes pretty much.
Wow.
And it's so wonderful. This is like a dream come true. Thank you, Dennis, Agnieszka, also Willow and Michael. Thank you.
Wow,
Okay.
Thank you, Lee. That's amazing.
Really,
That's really
is.
moving.
And you see my name, Lee Wayfinder. That was inspired by what I saw all of you doing, and I thought that was beautiful. And again, and something I wanted to incorporate because I learn from the best. That's what I do. Thank you.
Wow, that's humbling.
Yes, the grand conjunction. So I was not paying attention to that at all. And then within our autonomy family, people mentioned that it was the solstice. I was like, great, wow. And then I saw Owen Hunt on his Get Coached Facebook page talk about and provide a link to the meditation experience and encouragement for all people to meditate at specifically 6:22 p.m. UTC on December the 21st. And I was like, oh, wow, great. And then that page gave me some description of the meaning for that mass meditation of everyone available on the planet to perform and to enjoy and to experience. And that led me to think, wow, there's something going on with this. So at midnight in Taiwan on December the 21st, my children and I, we went up onto the roof of this building and we tried to see it. We didn't know where in the sky to look, and it was cloudy. And I said to my children, we can do this. And we can say, greatest grandmother, greatest grandfather, send us some insight, send us some guidance from today and into the and forward. And my children did that, and we did that in 4 directions. And then they were talking to me, and they were just like buzzing bees, this hands thing. And I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna walk around on the roof for a bit. And so I did that, and then I walked around, and then I kept looking up at the stars, and then some of them would like reveal themselves, and then there'd be like a hole, or the clouds were moving. And when that happened each time, I looked up and I said, mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, brother, sister, cousin, niece, nephew, I see you, and please shine down on me. I see you, and thank you. This sort of thing. That's what I did for the Grand Conjunction.
Nice.
And I just started to feel definitely, yes, something going on, and feeling very happy and very lighthearted. And whatever it was just enough for me. That was just wonderful. Yeah, good start to my day. And it turned out to be the start of my podcast too, later on. It just happened to be that day on the schedule of
Just
time.
happened
I didn't
to
plan
be.
it like that.
Sure, not after the Grand Conjunction or anything. Just happened to be.
Yes,
That's
that was
cute.
it.
What about you, Dennis?
Nice. Well, I heard about the meditation as well. I saw it on many channels, and they were like descriptions and how to sit and what to focus on and stuff. And I didn't go into those. I just knew, oh wow, and I saw it like 2 hours before, and so I just sat at that specific time without knowing specifically what other people were doing and who and when. But I just sat and I forged out probably like a half an hour, 45 minutes or so of the evening. It was, I think, it was after 7:20 or so, my time here, and and it was actually really amazing. So I certainly felt a shift, and it was a really nice meditation. So that was of course I can know, like, can I attribute it to the fact that I just sat and took the time? Would it have happened that way at any other time or day, or did it have to do with the fact that supposedly a lot of people did the same thing at the same time? That I can't prove, but I just can. What I know is that I sat and that I had a really nice experience, and there was I felt some kind of shift happening, and so yeah, that was really wonderful. And I actually looked forward to the day and was kind of observing a little more keenly what's going on, like on the on geopolitically, but also what's going on within myself, in my neighborhood, in the family, just the knowing about the solstice and having researched it a little bit over the last few years since I first became aware of it. It made me more aware and made me want to look deeper into what's happening in the small, but also on a larger scale. And I read a few things about people saying what this will mean at this time, what kind of age we're supposedly going into, and there's plenty interesting information. Some of them I can look up and I can research and dig deeper. Some of them I can't, or I haven't yet, but it's certainly interesting and exciting times to be alive, and I'm also very grateful and happy to share those with you. And yeah, looking forward to Agnieszka. How did you spend the time, and Mike as well once he's back?
I'm just going to text Michael because I know what his issue is, and he has to reboot his device because his device is stuck, and I can't mute his device.
So very
Yeah, let me see
interesting.
if I can tell him really
Mm,
quickly.
from where I am right now, the solstice and at this time of the year, I think at least
One
for the
sec.
northern hemisphere, traditionally or historically, this is really like a shift and a turning point in of the year, right? Because it meant that this was the time, this was actually the day where things flip and where the night, starts slowly to get shorter again and the days get longer. And this is something, because I haven't been around on this side of the world, I haven't experienced, to that extent for almost, 1.5 decades. And being back here, it facilitates me being much more aware and observe much more keenly what's going on also with nature. And yeah, so it's really amazing to see and to think about what that would have meant, for our ancestors, like making it through the winter and having it made to this point, and then okay, like from now, at least light is gonna come back a little longer. The days gonna, the days will be more extended. The night will get shorter, and that certainly would have meant a lot for people who would not have had the so-called amenities of our modern days, with electricity and light, and yeah. So I see it also as an invitation to connect, to reconnect, to nature and to again to who we truly are. I think it's a great invitation. It's a marking point, and to know also what this has meant, like even for religious beliefs and for organized religion in the world, and learning a little bit about how traditions that actually have been there from before, from ancient times, were then taken on or slightly modified and taken into, religions and traditions. That has been highly interesting to me.
Just a little update, technical update, gentlemen. I was able to remove Michael's crashed computer from the meeting, but I could only do that by kicking him out. And it said that that device will not be able to rejoin this meeting today. So I hope you can rejoin the meeting in future from that device. But for this time, I kicked you out. But yeah, you can go back to your room if you like, because it's turned off, like you've been removed from that.
I don't know. The computer's froze up, so I'm just
So
doing
good.
it from the tablet now. So hopefully I got enough battery in this thing to, yeah, it looks like we're going to be good.
Very
So
good.
sorry about that.
No worries. It's not your fault. Your technology fails you.
David Icke was just too much for the computer.
David, I totally destroyed it.
Can you
what
like summarize what he said?
well, what he was talking about was the difference between Jupiter and Saturn and kind of the energy that Jupiter represents versus the energy that Saturn represents. And he was saying that Jupiter is about optimism and freedom and openness and all these kind of things, like answering questions, that kind of stuff. And Saturn is the opposite. Saturn is like the authority. Saturn is kind of the closed system. And although he didn't say it, I kind of got the impression that Saturn was about scarcity and Jupiter was about abundance, and so that was kind of what I wanted to get across. And then the other thing is this is all happening as we're entering into the constellation of Aquarius, which is really kind of the representation of more of the optimism, more change. And he also suggested that it isn't really about one or the other, but it's actually about having balance between the two, because it's really the combination of both that really actually is the effective approach, where you have a little bit of both, because you can be kind of all optimistic and in the kind of in the fairyland and really get nothing done, but you've got to have that ability to kind of have some self-discipline to actually get things done. So honestly, I think it was a kind of a nice little effective presentation. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see it, but I thought it was a good description.
I'd rather hear it from you, and I enjoyed that. Yeah, thank you.
My pleasure.
The other part of it is that we got to hear your take on it, and the sense that you got of the scarcity and the shift, and also the need for balance. Great, great. Because what I like to say to people is trust yourself a little bit. All that stuff that you've experienced, and the moment of the recording as you listen, and how it connects, and what you hear and what you infer. People describe that as reading between the lines, all kinds of things like that. It's valuable because as you love yourself, you value yourself, and what you share with us, Michael, is also valuable. So thank you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, Lee. You know, in regard to my own experience over the past few days since the grand conjunction has happened and the solstice has happened, has been one of kind of a renewal of energy, and I have had I think a similar experience as what Dennis related. Is something is different. There's definitely a change in the amount of energy that I have, and maybe it's the optimism. I've slept better these last few days. You know, when I wake up, I've got a real sense of purpose, and there is definitely something different. So, you know, I think this is one of the reasons that they're doing the things that they're doing. They're isolating people because they don't want people to have those kind of shared experiences where people come together and say, you know what, something is different. Maybe it's time for some changes. But that's what we can do. We can, you know, bridge that gap.
Yeah, and it's really up to us, right? So I see it as an opportunity that is there, and but you know, the opportunity will not take itself by itself. It is us who is standing in the middle of the crossroads, and you know, it takes one who is able to turn and look left and right, and even, you know, maybe behind, in order to see, you know, the four pathways and the four paths that are there. And then you have to see them first. You have to see the opportunity, and then you have to be willing and able to walk the talk and to try it out. And whichever direction, whichever path you choose, you know, that's the right one. And if it turns out not to be the right one, then you will turn back and take another one. But it is, I feel there's really strong signs. At least that's what I experience and what I feel, and it's really up to us, to each and everyone, right, to decide which way we're gonna go in this crossroads, and where we go individually, and that will lead us collectively also, you know, maybe in a brighter future, who knows. And but it's just, you know, the power is within each one of us, and we can choose. We are free, you know, to look left and right and to see the doors that may be open. And I've been very good, like, at looking and knocking, or even even kicking down closed doors. But I also learned to appreciate the fact that there are open doors, and that if you look keenly, you know, you must find. So the saying goes as well. And yeah, sometimes it's actually not so bad to look for the open doors and walk through those.
I think that the most important thing that we can learn from this conjunction is the power of love. I was talking to somebody who was preparing the show or a workshop for Anarchapulco coming up. My political party is love, and I think that's a great workshop title, and it's exactly what we need in this day and age. I was going to read you guys, because I found some resources about the Great Conjunction and stuff, and I was going to read to you guys just a little paragraph of it because it was so cool. So this person, Astro Shaman, he or she talks about the Aquarian age and how it doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual change. And then the question in the article is, can Saturn play well with Aquarius and Uranus? Saturn's placement in Aquarius could be challenging. Saturn represents what's old and traditional, while Aquarius electrifies what's new, radical, or modern. The Aquarian vibe is even stronger because this great conjunction squares Uranus. Uranus carries the same archetypal energy as Aquarius, so we have like a double freedom, you know. Interestingly, Saturn and Uranus both rule Aquarius. Saturn is the ancient ruler, while Uranus is the modern ruler. Saturn represents establishment, government, and control. Uranus represents the collective and the populace, as well as freedom, independence, and individuality. Uranus also represents mass protests, revolutions, and great social unrest. We've certainly had no shortage of that in 2020, and we can expect a lot more in 2021.
That's soothing.
Interesting, informative.
But our political parties love. Imagine what life would, the world would be like if the political party of every single man, woman, and child was love. Like if we really could not act or speak or do out of any other emotion other than love.
Michael, your mute is on.
He's not talking to you.
Ah,
He's hoping you would talk so he can continue his conversation outside.
No, actually, I think there's a little bit of disturbance behind me here, and there it goes. Now we're good. So I apologize for that.
Before I forget, hey Dennis, your freedom facilitator moniker, I think, is very apropos, because as you speak, it's not usually a short commentary, but it turns into like a journey. For example, you talked about going outside, and it gives you a reason to focus on enjoying nature and around this time. And then you talked about how amenities distract from that and so forth. And I think it's like sometimes you make a comment and then later on you take it to the next step. So it's really interesting how it ties into your freedom facilitator, right? And your comment, it's like each comment you make is a journey. It's really interesting. Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that it reflects maybe like the pattern, of my thoughts when they fall in line, and then once, because I bounce back what I hear with the experience that I have, or maybe with those areas that I have a little, experience or background in, and if that makes sense and it clicks, then it's like, oh, so then I share what makes sense to me in that moment, and it's interesting, like to recognize the patterns, and it seems that there is an underlying pattern in everything. And I feel that these times they invite us also to look through the superficial, the waves on top of the sea, and to go a little deeper, and to go beyond the waves, and to go where the sea is deep and calm, and to see the underlying pattern, the depth of the sea, which is there and which is unshaken by the waves above. And I feel that is an opportunity that is always there for us. But it seems that even the unrest and the ups and downs of the last weeks and months, they in a way, they don't pass me without, wow, like I'm looking here, looking there, I'm seeing all those things. But I can observe myself how on one level I'm shaken by it, but there's also another level which is trying to calm down the one, the one that is like, oh, what is this and what is there? Oh, let's learn about this. And it's like, okay, it's left and right, it's up and down. But there's something beyond that. And I feel that the major call is really to center into that, to center and to see the pattern that underlies everything that's going on, and to rest assured that, like a capoeira song is saying, whether it goes good or whether it goes bad, everything goes. So the consistency is in the going, and there's a flow. There's always a flow. There will be a flow, and there has been a flow. And whether we have experienced it before in this life or maybe in previous lives, but many things came and go. The ones that we label good and that we label bad. And like Agnieszka said on Monday, it was, I'm not sure if it was before the teaser or after the teaser, when it said, oh, why are we all here? Because we chose to be here. So if you look at things from that perspective, it's like, yeah, I'm taking responsibility for being here right now, And if you just put
I meant because we chose to be born at this time in the era in order to observe the great shift.
Mm-hmm.
Not we're here because this podcast. Just
Yeah, but even
clarify.
that too, right? We were not forced to be here. We choose to be right here in this podcast, and we choose to be in the place where we are, in the perceived reality we find ourselves in. And we chose to be here in these realms, in this life as well. I feel it would make sense. It would be a pattern again, right? So if we assume that self-responsibility, and we speak and we act and we talk and we think from that, then I feel we're getting closer to the kind of being centered in love that I think you were hinting at earlier, Agnieszka.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know. I see people around me trying to be self-serving instead of serving the community. It makes me sad because I think that we can always win while we're serving the community. We can always succeed while we're still helping others. Like we don't have to go that extra step and, charge that extra dollar or whatever. We can just create products and charge prices that make everyone succeed, the buyer and the seller.
Well, I think I'd add that, there, if we truly are utilizing the skills and abilities and the superpowers that we have, we are serving both ourselves and the community, because really when we're at our best, it's better for everyone.
Yeah, that was my line of thought as well, because there doesn't need to be a difference, right? Like if you truly serve yourself, your true self, then everybody around you will benefit from that. If you, but I think
you're serving them too because you are them, right?
If you're in a good place, if you take well care of yourself, then you are in a good position to take care of others as well. Whereas if you pretend, or if you try to serve only others and you put yourself behind, then there's only so far you can go before something starts to break down, whether physically or emotionally or mentally in yourself, and then life will force you again to recenter in yourself and to take it from there.
Yeah.
And to some degree, it is the diversity of the experience. It is, in some cases, the suffering that creates the circumstance that we understand the value of the other side of that. So, as Dennis has said in the past, that everything is perfect. There are a lot of things that we don't necessarily understand as we're going through them, but they're necessary to go through them. And it is, I think there's the book that's called "The Obstacle is the Way." It is not the problem is the problem. It's overcoming the problem. It's the lack of skills. It's the understanding that comes from overcoming the problem that leads to the real value that we have and that we can deliver to other people.
The problem is maybe the perception. Sorry, I cut you off.
Well, I'm just going to say that, it is really in judging other people as good or bad that we really fail to understand what's really going on. And that is really that idea of, like embodying love and loving that people have problems, but not necessarily to judge them for the problems that they're either participating in or even possibly creating.
Yeah, I was going to say that the problem of the problem is not a problem, but maybe it's the perception of the problem. Because, oftentimes I found out that what I perceived as a problem before, maybe even years ago, it was just my perception. It actually turned out to be something amazing, something that allowed me to make a leap forward in a certain area. And if I would have been able to look at the problem then, and to see it as the challenge that it was, and see and maybe ask quality questions, and shift my energy in that way, and not be overwhelmed by the perceived problem, but to see what it was asking me to do or not to do, then it would have made it easier. So that's what I'm trying now. So based on those experiences, and that will give them sense again, or it would make sense to have gone through that, because now I'm able, at least more often than before, to look at things and say, oh, this seems really harsh, or this hurt, or I don't like that. And there's a challenge, definitely, but it's like, oh, well, if there wasn't a challenge, I probably wouldn't get up from the sofa. So what kind of challenge is that? Is that like a physical challenge, or is that a mental and emotional challenge? And what does this really ask me to do? Like, who does this situation ask me to be or to become, or what area should I be working on? Is it just physical, or have I focused on that a lot? And is it maybe, to see if I can look at it from a different emotional or intellectual angle? And but then it becomes exciting again, and that steers up excitement for like, oh, what I'm supposed to do with this is like, if I did it just like I did last time, maybe it came back because I didn't resolve it properly last time, and that's why the same situations keeps on coming up. So what can I do now differently? And then, turn my head to the left or to the right and go a different pathway on the crossroads for that time, and see what lies ahead. And I see a comment from Shambhavi.
Hi,
Says,
Shambhavi.
we must remember that we are not the doer. There's no dialogue, only God's monologue, said the wise man. Yeah.
Yeah, so the wise woman, but not everybody has lived for 2 years in an ashram, Shambhavi.
Do you have to live in an ashram?
She did.
No,
so
the question was, do you have to live in an ashram to perceive that you're not the doer, or to be rested in that knowingness?
yeah, but see, advice like that is really like highfalutin, and does it really have practical application to the regular person? Yes, Lee, you can speak. You don't have to just like.
What Dennis described to me sounds very playful and energetic. And my happiest moments in life are when I'm playful, whether that's with my wife, my lover, my child, my friend, this podcast, my podcast, whatever, working, creating, writing copy, or singing, or playing. I just, the right there, right? Playing an instrument. We call it playing. And that's what I'm, yes. And with my schooling and these sorts of things and the classes I've taught, those were always the greatest and the best classes. And that it's just taught me that that's the human condition at its best. Okay, so there's challenging times. There's things that were challenging for all kinds of certain reasons. Someone once said to me that I heard them say, consider that you might have put those obstacles by your own volition so because you wish to learn from those things. That's a possibility too. I was like, oh, wow. Okay.
That is a possibility. Absolutely. But the other possibility is,
I'm not done.
Oh, sorry, go.
Only 30 seconds more. And that is lately someone, I came aware of this song. What is it called now? Toast by Coffee, Koffee. She's from Jamaica. And in her song, she says, me thank God for the journey. That made me cry. And I feel like I want to cry again, but no, my face is getting little because I just thought, I totally feel that. I felt that. That's why I was crying. I felt it beyond I could contain that feeling. Thank you for the journey. It's not all play. It's some of the times it was really really hurt, but I thank God for the journey. And now you.
Well, what I was going to say is, if you're not as advanced as that. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if that's not as advanced. This is just a completely different tool or perspective. Sometimes when I find I'm experiencing challenges in life and stuff, I find that it's really helpful for me to go, okay, my job on this earth is A, and I'm very confident in knowing that I'm here to bring good, to bring love, to elevate, to, anchor love and all that, right? That's my job. And if somebody is trying to trip me up, then maybe they're just the forces that don't want good to prevail. So I should make sure that it prevails twice as hard, 3 times as hard. You know what I mean? if there are people or energies or whatever trying to pull me down, or moods, or problems with focus, or anything trying to pull me away from my goal, then I can just make that the challenge, Yeah, that's the challenge. So,
That
step into
sounds
your goal twice as hard. That sounds.
stressful. But I'm just saying that, provoking as well, because that for me sounds, centered in being the one who does. Oh, I have to do this. It's my job. I need to do that, and to there's a place for that as well, obviously, but there's also a place beyond that. So I found it very relaxing to get into, to find a place where I accept that it's me, like who is the me who is acting and who is doing. If it's,
You
if
haven't
that
said
is
that for like months.
if that is the little me, but let me center in the one that is acting through me. So instead of, assuming or believing that I am the one who is acting, someone is acting through me. So if I am the instrument of something that is beyond even the words that I could find, or any way I could express that, then that is something, and I don't take that as an excuse not to do the right thing, or not to do what I perceive as doing good, and as bringing forth the light, and helping others and so forth. But it is a totally different way of looking at things, because you're not caught up so much, and you can be acting and you can be doing, because that is a possibility that we have. It is a possibility that most of us choose, seemingly. We're acting in some kind of way. We're interacting with people, we're building relationships, and we're doing, and we're giving ourselves jobs. But oftentimes we identify so much with it that we forget that it's something that's flowing through us, that is facilitating all of this show. And to come back to what you were saying earlier, Lee, about the playfulness, I really love that. And there's a perspective of this reality that we find ourselves in, being created out of a playful nature of the divine, and that is something that hits home with me on different levels, because I've witnessed, and as I witnessed in myself, that being playful, I'm in touch with my true nature, in a way. At least that's how I feel it. And I see being playfulness and retaining the ability to play within maybe some of the worst circumstances that one could imagine, like working with children in downtown Jamaica, for example. And there is there's trauma, there's gunshots, there's violence, like day in and day out, but yet you wouldn't be able to perceive that, looking at them, being totally among themselves, being playful, expressing themselves, and just being children and being playful. And that that's maybe the most powerful thing that I've learned there, is to observe, wow, really being in the game, really being playful, you're able to forget everything around you. You won't even hear, you won't listen, and somebody from outside is like, oh wow, but this is really, oh, there's glass on the floor, and there's dark shit, and there's people fighting over there, and there's gunshots like back around that side, but they're here and they're playing, and they're it seems they're in divine balance, in harmony, right here and right there. So that is something I seek, and that is a joy of life that I seek, and not in an and that from a point of awareness, from consciously choosing that. Because you can enter that, naturally, just like, a baby would, be born to this world, and, when you observe them and giggling and just being right there. But that is beingness from an unconscious, in an unconscious way, so to say. But then later on, as we develop our ability and our consciousness, then we have the ability and the possibility to enter that state, but with intent. And I think that is a whole different level of it, and being able to hold that, and be centered there. It is a relaxing, it's maybe a more relaxing, or it's giving yourself, your artificial self, a break, and saying, let me just focus on what flows and what comes through me, instead of always thinking, I'm the boss, I have to do this job, I have to do that, and if I'm not doing this, and if this one is attacking me, or if this one is criticizing me, then it's actually criticizing myself. But Yeah, let me
Yeah,
stop
well,
right
it
there.
depends where you're at on the journey, right? Some people can do that whole God perspective, but some people are not quite there yet. And I'm not always there yet.
I was
Sometimes
going to go ahead.
go.
Well, I was going to chime in on this because I feel like there's definitely in my own experience where I felt like I was doing the job I was supposed to be doing, or I was doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And, I was the one that's taking on the job. I'm building stuff. I'm the one that's like getting up and going to work and doing all the things that are supposed to be the right thing to do. But in the end, looking back, I was probably helping the wrong people do stuff that really kind of harmed some of the people that probably I would have felt much better at aiding them than aiding the wrong side. And so, although I thought I was doing the good thing, I might have actually been doing the bad thing. And so, in a lot of cases, I think when it comes to judging whether we're doing good or bad, it is it's that judging that we need to really be aware of and really observant of, because it's not always that case. And that's where we really have to look at what our strengths are, and then within a larger group of people that can give us a great deal more perspective. And I think that's one of the things that the community serves us, and or the tribe serves us better at, really demonstrating to the people around us, delivering the value to them that really makes it more meaningful and much more, um, I think, righteous, I guess, to some degree. But it is, I think it is truly something that, I think we've discussed with the shows we did on senses, that some of the senses that we're missing are our community senses, the
Yeah.
senses that really deliver like empathy for the others around us and stuff. And because we haven't developed those senses, we're kind of
We can't
skewed
even
in a
find
way
the
that's,
community.
yeah, that's yeah, so like we're missing like half of our senses. And so, like, are we really doing what's right when we don't necessarily have the proper perspective? I think it's hard to say. So I guess that's what I wanted to mention.
I love it that you made me aware of that. Thank you, Michael. That 12 senses video. I loved it. And I mentioned it and shared it with other people. And one of those senses is just your foot on the ground, literally, your feet on the ground. People are missing out who are wearing like shoes, and and the shoes are getting thick, the soles are getting thicker and thicker. And remember, like Nike Airs and all that stuff. It's just so, think of that. That's so funny, because that's just like the opposite of what the human body really wants. That's why I was in Canada and listening to this guy